What if I told you that in the 1940s, the United States Navy supposedly conducted an experiment so mind-bending, so unbelievable, that it allegedly involved invisibility, teleportation, and even time travel? Welcome to the strange, bewildering story of the Philadelphia experiment, an event shrouded in mystery, conspiracy theories, and bizarre claims. Was the US government truly on the verge of mastering time and space? Or is this just another fantastical urban legend that got out of hand? In today's video, we'll uncover the truth behind America's alleged secret time travel project and try to separate fact from fiction. Let's dive in. The origins of the Philadelphia experiment. The story begins in the midst of World War II in the early 1940s. At the height of the war, the US Navy was exploring every possible way to gain an advantage over enemy forces. According to the legend, the Navy began a top-secret project at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, a project designed to render its ships invisible to enemy radar. This experiment allegedly took place on the USS Eldridge, a destroyer escort that was part of the Navy's fleet. The goal? To create a cloaking device that would make the ship completely invisible, not just to radar, but to the naked eye. To achieve this, the Navy was rumored to be using Einstein's unified field theory, a theoretical framework that aimed to unite electromagnetism and gravity. Some believe that by manipulating electromagnetic fields, the Navy hoped to bend light around the ship, rendering it invisible. But as the story goes, things didn't exactly go as planned. Instead of just becoming invisible, the USS Eldridge allegedly vanished entirely, teleporting from Philadelphia to Norfolk, Virginia, over 200 miles away. And not only that, some claim that the ship traveled through time, disappearing into the future before reappearing in its original location. The shocking aftermath. What happened after the experiment is where things take a truly bizarre turn. According to those who believe the story, when the USS Eldridge reappeared in Philadelphia, the scene was straight out of a nightmare. Some of the crew members were said to be violently ill, suffering from intense nausea and mental breakdowns. But more disturbingly, it was reported that several sailors had become fused to the metal of the ship, physically embedded into the hull, as if the ship and the crew had momentarily melded together during the teleportation process. Other reports suggest that some of the sailors simply vanished, never to be seen again. And even more strangely, there were claims that certain crew members were caught in a kind of time loop, disappearing for minutes or even hours at a time, only to reappear in different locations or in altered mental states. These stories, though shocking, remained largely confined to whispers and conspiracy theories for decades. However, the legend of the Philadelphia experiment exploded into public consciousness in the 1950s, when a man named Carl Allen, also known as Carlos Allende, claimed to have witnessed the event firsthand. The letters of Carlos Allende. Carl Allen's role in the Philadelphia experiment is central to the story. In the mid-1950s, Allen began sending a series of letters to Morris Jessup, an author who had written a book on UFOs and the possibility of alien life. In his letters, Allen described the Philadelphia experiment in vivid detail, claiming that he had seen the US Eldridge vanish and reappear with his own eyes while serving as a merchant marine on another ship. According to Allen, the experiment went far beyond invisibility. He claimed the Navy had inadvertently discovered a way to manipulate space and time, teleporting the ship and its crew through dimensions. His letters to Jessup were filled with cryptic references to Einstein's theories and descriptions of magnetic fields being used in ways that defied the known laws of physics. Naturally, Jessup was intrigued, but when he attempted to follow up on Allen's claims, he hit a brick wall. No official records of the experiment existed, and the Navy repeatedly denied that such an experiment had ever taken place. Still, Allen's letters were enough to spark the imagination of conspiracy theorists, and the story of the Philadelphia experiment began to grow. Government involvement. For many, the idea that the US government might have been experimenting with time travel, invisibility, or teleportation sounds too wild to be true. But there are some interesting historical connections that keep the conspiracy alive. First, the US government was indeed conducting secret scientific experiments during World War II. Programs like the Manhattan Project, which developed the first atomic bomb, were carried out in extreme secrecy, so it's not impossible to believe that other experiments could have been happening behind closed doors. In fact, the Office of Naval Research, ONAR, was established in 1946, and the Navy's interest in electromagnetic fields is well documented. However, the Navy has consistently denied any involvement in an experiment like the one described in the Philadelphia experiment legend. Official statements claim that the story is nothing more than a hoax, with no basis in fact. The Navy insists that the USS Eldridge was never in Philadelphia during the time the experiment was supposed to have taken place, and that no such experiment was ever conducted. But despite these denials, the legend persisted, and in the decades that followed, new twists and turns were added to the story. The Montauk Project and time travel claims. In the 1980s, the story of the Philadelphia experiment was given new life when it became linked to another conspiracy theory, the Montauk Project. According to this theory, the US government continued its experiments with time travel and mind control in a secret underground facility located at Camp Hero, a decommissioned Air Force base in Montauk, New York. The Montauk Project is said to have been a continuation of the Philadelphia experiment, where scientists allegedly worked on teleportation technology, time travel, and even the manipulation of human consciousness. Some accounts suggest that survivors of the Philadelphia experiment were brought to Montauk for further experimentation, and that the Navy and Air Force were collaborating on experiments that would allow them to control time and space. One of the most outlandish claims is that the Montauk Project created a time portal that allowed scientists to travel to distant points in time and space. Some even claim that these experiments sent people as far back as the days of the dinosaurs or into distant futures where humanity no longer existed. While the Montauk Project remains firmly in the realm of conspiracy theory, it has gained a cult following, particularly after it inspired the popular Netflix series Stranger Things. Separating fact from fiction. So what's the truth behind the Philadelphia experiment? As intriguing as the stories may be, there's little evidence to suggest that any of it actually happened. No credible documentation supports the idea that the USS Eldridge vanished or that the Navy was conducting experiments involving invisibility or time travel. In fact, historians have debunked many aspects of the story. For example, Navy records show that the US Eldridge was nowhere near Philadelphia at the time the experiment was said to have taken place. Additionally, the technical explanations offered by conspiracy theorists, such as the use of Einstein's unified field theory, have no basis in actual physics. It's also important to consider Carl Allen's credibility, or lack thereof. Many researchers believe that Allen was an unreliable source, and his claims about the Philadelphia experiment are thought to be a fabrication, possibly inspired by science fiction novels of the time. Still, the story of the Philadelphia experiment refuses to die, whether it's because of its connections to real government secrecy or its appeal to our fascination with the unknown. The legend continues to captivate the imaginations of conspiracy theorists and paranormal enthusiasts alike. So, was the Philadelphia experiment real? Is there any truth to the claims of teleportation, time travel, and secret government projects? While the evidence suggests that it's more fiction than fact, the story remains one of the most enduring urban legends of the 20th century. What do you think? Could the government be hiding something far more incredible than we can imagine? Or is this just another tall tale? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this dive into one of America's strangest conspiracy theories, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell for more mysterious stories from the past.